This is my long-term review of the Lumix S1R camera. Hi guys, my name is Matti Sulanto. I'm a photographer and a Lumix ambassador. And this is my long-term review of the Lumix S1R full-frame camera. This camera was launched almost exactly 2 years ago at the beginning of February 2019. And I was lucky enough to be invited in the launch event in Barcelona. So I've been using this camera, since the day one, since it became available for general public anyway. And I got this camera in June 2019. That's 18 months ago, approximately 18 months ago, at the time I'm recording this video in January 2021. So I guess you can call this a proper long-term review, or at least a long-term review anyway. And for those of you who don't know me that well, I shoot mostly portraits and documentary type of stuff. I don't shoot sports or action much, and I'm also not a big landscape or wildlife photographer. And that's the basis of this long-term review. And of course, this is a biased review because I'm a Lumix ambassador, but I'm also a professional photographer. And anyone who's been doing any kind of paid work for clients knows how important it is to have the right gear for you. As soon as you have to start worrying about your gear or even thinking about your gear on assignment, your concentration is not where it should be. You should be concentrating on the job, but if you have to worry about your gear, then you can't fully concentrate on your job anymore. And of course, I wouldn't be using Lumix cameras if I didn't think that they work for me. And everyone is biased, more or less. And I recommend you to check out more than one review, especially if you are planning to buy something based on a review. Always look or read at least 2-3 different reviews so you get better impression on the product that you are going to purchase. I think the Lumix S1R and also the S1 that was launched at the same time were pretty mature products right from the start. Of course, Panasonic had previous experience in making digital cameras, but it's not always so easy to enter a completely new product segment or category. We have seen successful attempts, but we have also seen a lot of failures all over, not in just camera industry, when manufacturers have entered a completely new product category or segment. But I suspect Panasonic had been practicing with full-frame cameras even before they launched their own full-frame cameras. But I have to say that this is only my speculation and my suspicion, and not a fact. But I suspect there's a lot of Panasonic technology under the hood of the Leica Q, both Leica Q cameras and also the Leica SL series cameras. And I suspect that Panasonic kind of had been practicing with full-frame cameras with Leica. But this is just my, like I said, only my speculation, not a fact. One of the major questions with every new product is the reliability. Will it deliver? And after 18 months of almost daily use, I can say that this camera has been 100% reliable. It has delivered every time, and I've had absolutely no reliability issues with this camera. And I'm not aware of any major reliability problems with these cameras in general. there are some problems with some cameras that the shutter will break down or something else. I think the shutter problems are not that uncommon after all. But with this camera I haven't heard of any major reliability problems. So every time I head out with this camera, I know it will deliver, and it gives me peace of mind in that regard. So what about the size then? Has it been a problem for me? Because this is not a small camera. You can't deny that. And I have to say that it has not been any problem for me. But I also have to say that I have many smaller cameras too that I can use whenever I need a smaller camera. So I'd say that this is not probably the everyday camera, or how do you say, this is not a good camera for every situation because it's kind of big. But there are lots of situations where the size doesn't matter, or the small size is not important. It's not even preferable in some situations. And in those situations I really like to use this camera. I like the chunky size of the camera. I like the chunky controls, which are very clear and easy to operate in every situation. And especially now at this time of the year in January, it's cold outside. I have to wear, or everyone has to wear, gloves when they go out, and this camera is such a pleasure to use even with thick gloves, because the control layout and the controls are so big and clear. Some smaller cameras can be a really pain to use with gloves. And then about the pixel count, and that is something that I have a little bit of mixed feelings with. I really do like all those 47 million pixels, but if I'm completely honest, I don't really need all of them that often. But I have to say, one more time, I have to say that sometimes it's really nice also to pixel peep a little. Who wouldn't like that? And if someone, any photographer says that he or she never does that, they are lying. But of course, that's not the purpose of photography, and I don't do that very often. However, whenever I have a new lens that I'm testing for this channel, or just a new lens in general for myself, it's nice to be able to do a kind of a stress test with this camera, because with this kind of pixel count I can really see if the lens is good or not, and I can see all the flaws much better than with, for example, 24 megapixels, which is a common pixel count also for many cameras, especially full frame cameras. But all in all, I would say that the 47 megapixel sensor is really nice, but it's not super important for me or for my photography. So what about the lens lineup then? Has that been a problem for me? Because it always takes time to build up a brand new lens lineup from scratch. And I have the original 3 lens lineup in front of me. These 3 lenses were launched at the same time with the camera body. And they cover everything from 24 to 200 millimeters at f4, and then there's the fast prime 50mm f1.4. And I have done a lot of things with these 3 lenses, and I'm pretty happy with them. But I wish I had 2 or 3 more compact prime lenses. But I think my wishes will come true later this year when those f1.4 prime lenses will all come available. There is already the 85 f1. Did I say 1.4? I meant f1.8 primes. There is already the 85 f1.8. Then there will be also 24, 50 and 35mm f1.8 lenses. And if I can have the 35 and 50 f1.8, I think I'm gonna be very happy. I don't need many lenses. I'm not that kind of photographer. I'm happy if I can have lenses, if I can cover everything from 24 to 200 millimeters and then have 2 or 3 compact prime lenses in the 28 to 100 millimeter range. And I also have the very excellent compact Sigma 45 millimeter f2.8 that I sometimes use, or I use it quite a lot actually, whenever I need a compact prime to put on my S1R or the S1. And Sigma has many other excellent element lenses in their lineup as well, so you have other choices, not just the Lumix S lens lineup. And then of course there is the Leica SL lens lineup too. But I guess those Leica prices will put off many Lumix users, but they are available and they are excellent lenses if you are willing to pay the Leica price. At the beginning of this video I said that this camera was quite mature when it was launched, and it was. But there have been some really good firmware updates later, and they have made this camera even better. And right now I'd say the features and the functions on this camera are pretty good indeed because of the firmware updates. But there has to be something to complain about also, and there are some things that I want to complain about. But they are nothing really major, but still something that I wish were different. And the first is the power switch, which you can get used to, but I think the ideal location for the power switch would be under the shutter button like it is on the S1H model and also on the Micro Four Thirds Lumix G9 camera. Excuse me, it's under the shutter button, and that is, in my opinion, the perfect place for the power switch. And another complaint is the card slots. This camera has 2 card slots, which is excellent, but I wish there were similar card slots. Now the other one is for the SD card and the other one is for the XQD card. I think it would be more practical to have 2 similar card slots. And even though the XQD card is probably a bit more reliable than the SD card and it's also faster, I still think it would have been better to have 2 SD card slots. I think the camera would have been more practical like that. But I'm sure there's gonna be a comment down below sooner or later about the autofocus, how bad it is. But I can't complain really, it works really well for what I do. And especially after the latest firmware update, it works pretty well also in video, at least based on my experience in the kind of video work that I do. So I can't really complain about the autofocus. It's fast and it's accurate, and that's enough for me. But if you have the S1R or the S1 and you have used it for quite some time now, please do leave me a comment down below and tell me how you feel about the camera after, you know, extended period of use. And also, if you like my channel and if you like my content, please do remember to subscribe and like and all that. And remember also to take a lot of great pictures on your Lumix camera or whatever camera you have. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.